it's Nicole Bonner with Thriving Chiropractic. And we got Dr. Colton O'Brien. Hey, Colton.
What's up, everybody?
And we have one of my friends, my CBP friends here with us today, Dr. Johannsen, who I'm very happy and honored to have on this podcast because, man, first of all, he has a story that I think you all need to hear. And secondly, Jay, you're just doing amazing things. You're doing a lot. You're doing a lot in our profession. And on it, quite honestly, I don't even know how you get it all done and get everything done that you're doing, but we want to know your secrets. So why don't we start out and why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and how you got started in chiropractic?
Okay, so how I got started in chiropractic. My grandmother was a patient of BJ's. She grew up in Davenport, Iowa, about 3 blocks away from Palmer. And if you went to Palmer, you know the neighborhood. It's Cork Hill. It's over by the cathedral there. Then our family basically never really sought medical care. If you had a cold, you had a flu, you had a fever, you went to a chiropractor. I was adjusted 3 days after birth by a guy named Virgil Strang, who is the former president of the college, taught philosophy. I didn't realize I was a chiropractor until I was 15 years old. And I had basically played sports, raced carts, and got beat up. And, we always say, hey, something's wrong, you go down there and get fixed, So that's how I was born into it. But how I got there was basically I kind of fell for a girl and I followed her to this massage therapy school in Moline in 1993. And I fell in love again, but it wasn't with her. It was actually with helping people. So I became a massage therapist and I got a job in a chiropractic office because, most people don't want a guy massaging them. And this guy put me to work and he's like, here you go. Here's the book, and gave me a book on ART, Graston, and active isolated stretching. He's like, warm them up, stretch them out, give them some exercises, and then get them over to me to adjust. So that worked pretty good. And I saw the toolbox that he had and I thought, you know what? It's probably 1995. I'm like, I need to expand my toolbox. So took the prereqs for Palmer, went over there, got out in 2001 thinking, oh man, I am it. I have it down. I've already got experience, man. You're all going to work for somebody else. I'm going to work for myself. Bad idea. Bad idea. Went to LeClaire, Iowa. And at the time I was racing bicycles semi-professionally with Mike Wolf from American Pickers, and found out I was going to have a baby. I was going to go to Savannah, Georgia to set up practice. And I'm like, man, I can't drag a, pregnant wife and a new baby and just graduated and no money. So Mike was nice. He's like, I have a space in this little town called LeClaire, Iowa. You'd be right next to my antique shop or whatever. And I'm like, $300 a month. Here we are. Okay. Start cash practice, no insurance. We're in Davenport, Iowa. You have to be great at adjusting, not good. You have to be great. Otherwise, people will tell you, Doc, you didn't get it. Well, what he would do is he'd really hit it. And I'm like, oh my God. And I wasn't that good of an adjuster. So my first business pretty much tanked. I failed. I had to live on, my spouse's income with her while doing side jobs. I framed houses to pick up money. And then basically for the next year, I started another business in town, a little closer, because no one drives to LeClaire for bread. So do be in a place where there are people. I got better at adjusting just through perseverance and being tough. And then that business, we started doing soft tissue work. It was primarily me doing exams and about 5 of my friends who were massage therapists I would send them like, okay, yep, you have a soft tissue issue. You can't turn your neck. I'll do the outcome assessments. We'll bill insurance and stuff. And we had a good business going. And then they changed the laws because we built 3 practices that were running. And then they said, you, doctor, have to be in that office to bill there. Right. I couldn't just go and do the exam, turn them loose with my patient, my employee friends, and then watch good outcomes come from me adjusting them and them doing the soft tissue work. So that tanked. Regrouped pediatrics and obstetrics because we were having kids. Started doing the ICSP's diplomate program, got through 2.5 years of that, and then found CBP. And literally I found CBP because I was falling apart through bicycle crashes and injuries, T7/8 compression fracture. I was basically stuck, literally translated and compressed. And gut problems, autoimmune disorders. So I thought, okay, I have to learn this. I have to fix myself, doctor, heal thyself. So the biggest thing I took away was that. Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, so basically what I ended up doing was I learned the lessons, and that is failure is okay. You have to shoot 1,000 shots at the free throw line to start getting consistent. So if I took something away from that period of time, it is fail quickly, shoot quickly, and regroup and remodel. So if it doesn't work out and you're not gaining momentum in 2 or 3 months, quit. Don't do it. I quit my way to the top of it. So through time, I kind of like had evolutions in my mindset, really, that I stopped worrying about, this or that. And I diversified my activities so that I could do other things. I got into real estate acquisition, flipping houses at first, then holding them and renting them, and then commercial property. And then basically learning more about tax structure through those guys. I learned, a lot about how to keep money on the table so I didn't have to work as much. And along the way, there's ups and downs to things. You can be doing really well, and then 2008 comes, and then you're not doing so hot. Those switches are going to happen. COVID comes, and 8 practices around you close because they're not principled, they don't have communication, or they lack results, and your practice grows. Things aren't always up or down. So long story short, I found the love of my life. I put down on paper what I wanted in a person to be with and what I didn't want. And then I looked over, and here's this intern, Dr. Laura Price, who was a student at the time. And I'm like, oh my God, you fit the bill. And so we were talking, and she started, being an intern in the office and whatever. And along the way, I found out that she had like $342,000 in student loans. And I'm like, whoa, and I started talking with her friends, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to come out with 250, 260, 280. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. And I heard one of my patients around the same time say that they just got their student loans forgiven through the PSLF, Public Service Student Loan Forgiveness Program. And I'm like, how is this? What is this? 10 years out of school and you're forgiven. And she works at the local hospital. And she said, well, the hospital's a nonprofit, which I thought the hell it is, because I take care of the most successful bankruptcy attorney. And they told me like that hospital is on 65% of all bankruptcies in our county. And I'm like, so I was a little mad, I was like, how in the world does that happen? No wonder the medical profession is getting ahead and always basically outpacing chiropractic when we're better at damn near everything other than pulling knives out of people's heads and chests. And so I tiraded about it, and my friend at the time, not girlfriend or anything, said, why don't you do something about it? Stop complaining and start acting. And I'm like, all right, what do we do then? So I tasked myself with figuring out the process. The PSLF program had been around since 2007. It's used by hospitals. There's probably, if you're listening to me, you're within 25 miles of a PSLF qualified hospital or medical facility. And it's forgiven trillions of dollars already. And as time goes by, from 2017, when the first people were eligible, not about 2% of loans qualified. So there was a low success rate to application rate. After 2012, almost every loan that's been generated has been a PSLF qualifiable loan. So the rate of success has gone exponentially up. And by 2031, they say that approximately 98% of people who apply and work for nonprofits will be eligible. So I thought, okay, what do I do? So what do I do is I research, is there anything out there for me to do? I found a couple options that I was uncomfortable with after talking with attorneys.
Jay, can I ask you a quick question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if you're a healthcare provider, like a medical doctor or a chiropractor, what you're saying is there's an opportunity for your loans to be forgiven if you work for a nonprofit?
Exactly. If you're employed by a nonprofit, you can get student loan forgiveness after 10 years of being on an income contingent payment plan. So the parameters for PSLF, and you can go Google PSLF FAQ, it'll take you to studentaid.gov, and you can read about it. The letter of the
Wow.
law, 750 pages, states you must be employed full time while paying on an income base for 120 months of payment. Pretty simple.
Wow.
So what we did was we looked at what can we do to create a nonprofit or set one up. And I found a company that, you can give them $10,000 and they give you, a mountain of paperwork to file with the federal government. And then you have to run a nonprofit. I went to my accountant and my attorney who told me you need to see a nonprofit accountant, a nonprofit attorney. And they told me, yeah, you can do that legally, set it up yourself. But if your name is on the founding paperwork of that and you're the only beneficiary of it, they're going to tear you apart when you get audited. And it's not usually if, it's a matter of when.
And
So what I did was I sidelined it for a little bit. And then my not give up attitude said, you know what? So it's not possible. If I found it, I can't. And I still had student loans. I can't participate. I'm like, all right, I'll create it. I'll fund it. And we threw over $150,000 in a year, well, actually 19 months to get approval and to get the thing running. And I don't get to participate. I'm a volunteer for it, but everybody else can. So what we do is we hire doctors, and our mission and how we got approval by the IRS. And if anybody wants to see our IRS approval, then know it's real. I'll send it to you. It's a piece of paper that goes, yes, you guys are a 501c3 and you're approved to do this program. The way we got it was real simple. I approached the IRS and I said, listen, there are students out here with massive loans. Their loans were actually funded by taxes paid by the public. And when they graduate from school, those loans, that loan dollar value that they, have, their debt is then sold as a slab to private equity firms. Mohila, Navient, Nelnet, ED Financial, where your student loans go. They buy those and they collect the benefit from it. The benefit never goes to the original investor, the public. So our program is a Robin Hood project. And what I want to do, and I want approval for this program, I want the doctors to deliver $500 worth of care for free to the American public each month for 10 years. And allow the usage of their physical space, capacity, and resources, that is their clinic, without remuneration or consideration. And we expect that value is $1,000 a month value, right? In return for doing that and raising a small amount of money, which every person in the organization, even Dr. Mullen has to do work, my wife has to put something in, everybody puts in a small amount, and it varies state to state based on the filing requirements, the tax requirements. They have to raise a little bit of money. And in return for that, in 10 years, we want their student loans forgiven tax-free via the system. They said no. I said, why? They said, well, this and that. I revised it. We went through 4 different reiterations. How are you going to calculate how much care is worth? Like, what's to say somebody doesn't come in and say, well, my 98940 is worth $1,000 because I adjust everything, even, their dog's aura or whatever. I'm like, okay, I'll figure this out. So I presented the CMS RVU system, Medicare's value unit. Everybody has to use it geographically. That way, if you're in San Francisco, it's $90. If you're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, it's $37.50 based on, that. And they said, okay, good. We like that. And then they gave us approval the 24th of September, 2020. We then basically took 2021 to build the infrastructure. The organization is not run by me. I just help people through the process as a volunteer. The organization is actually run by companies called Jitasa and Gusto. They do the HR, they do the payroll, they do the taxes, they do the bookkeeping, the accounting. They're the largest 2 firms, and a small herd of attorneys, that make sure that everything's square and all our I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And so for me, I basically go through and I take people through the process of understanding how can you raise these funds? What's the return for doing it? And really the return is good for the public, because now for the first time, us as care deliverers can give that care back to people, and they get something in return for putting us through school. And if we take care of people, right? and I had to present the value. I went through research with the IRS. Like, if we present value and we can get one person per clinician to keep one person off of disability, unemployment, Social Security insurance, or any other safety net, it is worth roughly 10 times what their student loans are, because that has a trickle down effect of losing tax base, decreasing income, creating stress in families. And if they don't keep moving, and I went through the process, if they don't keep moving, the leading reason for people getting diabetes, heart disease, right? Biggest killers in the US is a sedentary lifestyle. And what's the leading reason people have that? Immobility, pain, usually spinal, degenerative disorders. And what do we take care of? Exactly preventing that from causing loss of function, sedentary lifestyle, and early death. So Jimmy gets his dad back, Sarah gets her mom back. They stay solid, liquid, financially solvent because we gave care. The safety networks save money. And so therefore it is a better benefit to the public to let us do this system than it is to have them continue to pay forever. So they liked it. It works. We're approved. And now we've got a system that works for everybody. And you can do it while working for somebody. You can do it while you're working for yourself. We allow you to work at the same time you're working your regular job to do that work. And we've structured it so that, you know, everybody applies so long as they're not like private loans. And that's the basics. It doesn't take a lot of time. I mean, how long does it take you if your significant other and you are going to go out to dinner and they're like, hey, doc, can you adjust me real quick? Come on, hon, get me. How long would it take you to adjust somebody? A second, right? A life-giving second, right? To connect their brain with their body. So the average doctor, if they really are diligent, let's say they take 3 minutes. Let's say they're in an economically not very strong area and a 98941 is $50. $50, 500, that's 10 adjustments. At 3 minutes, that's a half an hour a month of care delivery. Now the infrastructure, running it, paying the bills, doing everything else, vacuuming the floors to make that happen. There's a lot of things that really go on to deliver that. And that's where the full-time employment thing comes up, you know, and that's how we structure it.
So Jay, they're doing they're contributing, so they're doing volunteer work like in their own practice?
Yeah, you guys in your own practice. Dr. Mullen over here, he goes through, and when somebody comes in and says, you know, I can't do this. I just don't have any money right now. 2 kids in school, broken truck, very low business in my roofing company. All right, great. You've got economic need. He determines that. And you have to follow your guidelines of who you give care for, because if it's a Medicare patient, you will have documentation guidelines for that you as the clinician must follow. There you go. Care is delivered. It may happen where you have a motor vehicle case, right? And the attorneys are like, yeah, you know, we didn't settle out. There's no money. Okay, patient, can you pay the $2,000? And you see somebody start crying because they know that's going to economically break them. Man, you're not going to throw that stress on them and shut their immune system off. So you write it off. You bite the bullet. That's care delivered to the public. That's a public benefit. That's a nonprofit activity. So there's a little bit of documentation. Otherwise, you know, there's enough people out there who, you know, you're even Medicaid, right? At September in Iowa, Medicaid stops paying them. Their coffers are dry. We still give care. We don't turn people away. So you guys are probably already giving away and writing off that care, right? It's just that you've never had a way to quantify it, record it, report it, and then be employed at the same time. And so I really want to cover this for people because there's a lot of confusion. People are like, oh, it's too good to be true. No, it's complicated.
It's genius.
Right? It's hard to run, but it's simple for you. And the reason we made that simplicity is because we hire people not to deliver the care. We hire people to recruit somebody to deliver care. So let's say that Nicole, you have a significant other. They've got $200,000 from their poli-sci degree at Georgia Tech, right? And they want to get that exchanged for public service loan forgiveness. We will hire them. They could go to their dentist, their optometrist, their chiropractor, their physical therapist, and go, hey, would you give 100? Would you give 100 a care? Would you give 100 a care? And their job is to go around and record that care that's given away, document it, and report it. They also have to provide the practitioner's license, malpractice insurance on a yearly basis, so we know the people delivering care are bona fide and legal to do that. And so anybody can do this, whether they are a practitioner or not. We've got several people who, their uncle's a chiropractor or a family member is. Those guys are already given care, and our job is to recruit, record, fundraise, and then report it. And fundraising, this is going to sound strange, but I'm going to give you an analogy so you understand how it works. You guys know what an associate doctor is, all right? Yeah. So my associate doctor over here, Dr. Mullen, produces value via billable services that we collect for, right? Let's say that's $100. Do I give him $100? No. The business is going to take and have to run overhead. So out of that $100, we're going to say, here's our overhead that goes to the overhead. We'll take and put it back over there to pay the bills. Then the clinic owner, for having to organize and do everything, takes their cut, right? Okay, so that goes to taxes and everything else. And then what is left right there, that goes to the employee, right? In this system, what we do is we hire people to raise enough money to pay minimum wage in their area, plus the taxes and the operational expense of our organization. It goes across the board the same for everybody based on where they're at. So places like Pennsylvania, there's 5 tax zones. Places like Texas, there's 1. Texas, a little less expensive to run and do. Pennsylvania, a little more. And then that pay for them doing the job, doing the recording, reporting, recruiting, and fundraising goes back to them. So my doctor raises $1,000. At the end of the month, he gets a check for $720, right? And that's his pay. So what we do is we all raise money as fundraisers, and that comes from our businesses or our employers. For me, what I do is I take his paycheck and I go, hey, you make $10 an hour, right, Doc? Okay, I'm going to donate $3 of that off the top to the nonprofit on your behalf, pre-tax. That way we're not taxed twice on it. And they're going to pay you for doing that job and doing a good job. I, as an employer, am going to allow you to use my infrastructure, everything that we put together, so that you can do that mission. Over the course of time, for every practitioner that we have, they produce value through the usage of equipment, time, space, labor, and delivery of care of approximately $273,000 over a 10-year period. And that's a benefit to the American public. And that's something we can measure, and we proved. And that's why the IRS said, okay, that's a benefit. This is a good program. And by doing this, we help people through the process. We also have, for initial startups, like you guys are looking at starting a practice, you don't have an extra $300 or $400 to go out the door out of your own pocket. So many of you, we will train you guys. How do I get donations to cover the operational expense so that I'm not paying something out of my own pocket and having to donate myself? In our office, it's really pretty simple. And we just ask people when they go to pay co-pays, hey, Nicole, do you like what Dr. Carroll does? Yeah. You're feeling better. You're moving better, right? Yeah. Would you mind rounding your copay or payment up to the nearest dollar? Just throw the change in and help families that can't afford care. It's how we help do the free care that we do. It's just change. 70% of the population will give, 95 cents. And you ask them about 3 times, and generally what they'll say is, Jimmy, you don't have to ask me every time, just do it. Okay. And so you can raise the small amount, the couple $100s that it takes to file and run the HR for you, the taxes, your, contribution to the organization as a whole for legal fund and all that stuff. We hope that once we grow over 1,000 people, we'll be able to start funding clinics that are free, that are close to colleges, so that students coming out can learn how this works, learn from people who are in practice, who have to make a living and support their families on their skill sets and outcomes. Because in college, we know that, in the clinics, they don't have to be successful at that. And I really want to give something back by having that available close to schools, but that's down the line.
I love that. That's awesome.
And what I would hope is that economic freedom comes for people at 10 years versus 25 or 30, and it comes tax-free. That releases us as a profession from the burden economically that we face that the other healthcare professions don't. And we can begin to really clean up what may be ailing some chiropractic, and that would be my hope. I just hope, but the big thing is walking people through this system. And that's what I do, is just help people understand how it runs and how to get into the process. And the average person, you're applying for a job, so you fill out an application, you take a test, you have to watch me on video for like 27 minutes so that you understand, here are the do's and the don'ts as an employee with us. Here's what you have to do. Here's what you can't do. And it's an egalitarian process. Our process in our nonprofit is built on the fact that you can't give care away to one secular group or religious group. You can't divvy out care based on, I'm going to give it to, the people in my church alone. You have to be equal about it. You have to demonstrate that. It can't be based on race, religion, sexual orientation, political affiliation. You really have to be pretty equal and fair about it. So we ask people, just help people. And a lot of people are already doing it. Most doctors, they don't even realize what they're giving away. Like they think, $500, where am I going to get the time to do that? Most of them are already writing off care to people who couldn't pay the bill anyway, to the tune of $1,500 to $2,000. So yeah, that's what I do, outside of about 5 other things. So
Oh, wait, before we go on to some other things that we have to touch before we get off, Colton, what kinds of questions do you have? Because you're closer to this, like you just graduated a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I am just kind of still trying to wrap my head around it. My computer glitched out a few times, so I missed some key points. But I'm sitting here thinking that you and I need to hop on a call so I can get some more detail as to just like how I could use this in my practice. A question that I do have: it doesn't matter if you're in network, out of network, cash based.
No, because the nice thing about that, Colton, is that we don't hire people to deliver care. Because if we did, we would have to pay and buy a malpractice insurance policy on every care deliverer, right? That would make this program exponentially unaffordable for most everybody, because it just couldn't happen. So you, as the practitioner delivering care, are independent and separate from the actual job for the nonprofit. So you recruit somebody to deliver care. That probably is going to be you, right? So pretty simple, right? You can be in network, out of network. You could do telemedicine. We've got people who do mental health calls over the phone, counselors. We have CNAs who basically had a lot of student loans from other degrees not related, and they go in and they basically get a day insurance policy, real simple, right? $2.75, so that they can go and give respite to people who have homebound dependents, so that somebody can go on a date or go shopping without having to worry about their mom or their dad or their infirmed family member. And for you guys that are new too, like I remember coming out in practice, man, and like I remember the first $85 check I got from insurance. And I was like, thank God, I can put gas in the car. Remember those days? So for people starting up, there's a way that even the dues that we all have to come up with, we can delay that so that you keep it low and affordable while you're on the program. And then as you get more successful and your practice grows, you can then start to kick in more to compensate, which there are other guys who are more successful and then established, and they help with that system by offsetting it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I can send you guys a link, and our process is pretty simple. It is an application process. I will give you the caveats that we basically have. That is, with rare exception, only by review of our board of directors, the nonprofit board, will we allow anybody in who has been convicted of felony aggravated battery, sexual assault, larceny, racketeering, kidnapping, or anything on that same line. Okay. I will tell you, we do have people who have been, arrested because a spouse was arrested and they were charged and convicted on drug trafficking. Well, that was your spouse. You guys aren't married. And the board reviewed the whole case and they're like, okay, you're a good egg. You were in the wrong position because of love, fine and well. So you can't have like a serious criminal background, because each person in our organization, if they choose, has the ability to go, public, please support this mission. And here's a tax deductible receipt for your donation. You can also go through and write for grants, and we have people who write grants. We don't, as an organization, do that stuff, but people write grants and they pull in, $15,000 or $20,000, and that covers their dues, and it also pays them. You could look for that stuff and get paid a reasonable and customary fee or wage for your position. And that's something that, since that power, that ability exists there, we do background checks. So the first step for everybody, and we'll put a link up for you guys, is to go in, enter information, answer some questions for other people who have loans, and we screen. So for other people who have loans that are not applicable, we want to find that. For other people who may be closer and have a better economic benefit from different programs that we know about, we drive them in that direction. We've already gotten, in the last month, I think we got $2.4 million of student loans forgiven from people who never signed up for our organization. Because as I was doing the interviews, I'm like, you've been out for this long? You need the 25-year forgiveness program. Here's the tax bill on it, and it'll be done, So let's get creative and find ways for you to be able to use that 25-year program and defray some of the taxes, or at least reduce it to make it affordable, because it would be a better economic thing for you to not spend 10 years doing this. And so we turn people onto those programs, because going in the nonprofit student loan forgiveness process, I would say I know the industry better than most. I don't know if I'm the best at it, but I'm always open, and I'm always keep learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of popped in my head because it's super relevant today. So I'm 6 months, 8 months out of school, 6 months in practice, and I'm meeting. Student loans are starting to kick in. Again. I'm having my first meeting with a student loan strategist today that a friend referred me to. So, any advice, kind of speaking on before we get started with what you're doing, just kind of start wrap our heads around like what we should do with those student loans and how we should approach it?
Yeah. Okay. So this is an unpopular opinion to some people, and it's unpopular opinion because it stops them from making money off of you guys. I've got several people in our organization who pay people $400 or $500 a year just to counsel them on student loans and strategies to pay it off. Okay. So as chiropractors, here's the bottom line. Save yourself time. I'm free. I donate Tuesday, Monday, Friday, and half a day Saturday to the nonprofit without pay or remuneration. Okay. I know the programs. I've already heard them all. I know what's going on. As chiropractors, you have 20 or 25-year loan forgiveness programs. When you get those loans forgiven, they are taxable as income. So if you're making $150,000 and you get $200,000 forgiven, you're going to be put into a 37% tax bracket, and you're going to pay on that $267,000. You're going to pay 37% in taxes. These companies will tell you, get on an IDR, that's income-based or income-driven repayment plan. Pay as little as you can. Try and hide your income as much as you can, possibly. And then as time goes by, keep putting money into an account to pay that tax bill, because the IRS does not wait for their money, and their fees and fines and levies and penalties are exorbitant. You're better just keeping your student loans. So save your money. There you go. That's what they charge you $500 for right there. That's the only thing they have to offer that I've ever seen outside of, they'll ask you questions. Do you work for a nonprofit? Do you work for this? Okay, you qualify for PSLF. And I'll just tell you, you can run a nonprofit, but I don't know anybody who can run one for like $4,000 a year. That's why I steered away from just running one solid. And to make this organization solid, that is impenetrable, it had to be nationally based, modeled on the same model as the Salvation Army or the Goodwill, right? So for you guys coming out, you don't have to worry. Like, even for us, we have 2 other entities besides the one we're with right now, an educational and another healthcare driven one, that if it ever gotten attacked, it would be there. There's a ship to jump onto. And that's what all nonprofits do. They basically create cells so that if one gets in trouble, well, you got another one to go to. Now, digressing to your question, what should you guys do? 1, get an income-based repayment plan when you're out of school. IBR, IDR. We look at the calculator, and you can put in not PSLF, but studentaid.gov calculator, and it will take you to a web page, and you can put in multiple scenarios of income, location, loan type, and it'll tell you what all the different payment plans are. And in literal reality, I paid somebody, right, to go through their counseling to see what are they doing. And they took me to that site and said, here it is. It's free. Why would I pay you $400? Honestly, $400 isn't much nowadays to me. I'm like, oh, yep, I just ate a $400 meal. Okay. But when I started off, man, $400, I was like, my God, I'm rich, right? Wow. So Repayee, REPAYE, is usually going to be about 10% of your discretionary income. Pretty simple, right? And then learn, right? Learn as fast as you can how the tax structure in America works. Now, in the 2016 election, there was one of the candidates that said the system's fixed. It's rigged. I know it. And the moderator said, well, how do you know this? And the speaker said, because I use it. And so do they. They just won't admit it. And very simply, what you do is, once you get a little momentum going, live like you're poor, okay? Live the same way as you did when you were a student in school. Me, Palmer, 97 to 2001, $10 cash, all I had. I would go down to the VA center, man. I'd get my cup of coffee. I'd get my king-size M&Ms, and I'd keep myself awake during those, really boring lectures. I kept it lean. Then when I got out, I kept it lean. And then I learned that, structuring your LLC business and a C corporation, take your income. When you guys get enough income, and you can squirrel it away. You don't have to pay all the bills with it. The minute that you have extra income, squirrel it away and then push it to your parental organization that owns your LLC as a disregarded entity. Then use that money to go buy an asset like a duplex or a rental property. Then go to the bank and say, hey, bank, I got this. I own it. Can I have a loan? And when that money comes back to you again, that is technically legally washed. It's a loan. It's not income, and you won't be taxed on it. Amazing, isn't it? The same things that every senator, every congressman uses to get ahead, you can too. But I tell you, it's hard, and it's okay if you fail the first couple times. Bite the bullet and save the money and keep yourself lean until you can do that first purchase, and then keep doing it. It'll take you on average about 5 years in practice to the point where you're like, man, honey, that BMW M3 really is good looking. And honey goes, no, we're buying a house. We're going to take a loan and we're going to get free. So I didn't know about this until I was in practice. I think I learned this 2020, 2021, and it's a game changer. I paid people to learn the lesson, but I can tell you, well, I'm here and the IRS hasn't come picked me up and thrown my skinny butt in jail. So, it's good. Second, when you guys start making money, you need 3 people. You need a tax accountant, CPA. Remember, they count beans. They're accountants, bean counters. They are not risk takers. They do not want to get audited. They don't want to push the envelope. They want to stay safe, collect their money from you, and punch numbers. Then you need a strategist, somebody who is thinking outside the box, looking for everything like the 208 Augusta rule. Yes, you should be using that. If you don't know what it is, look it up, use your house, have events for staff, and take the $1,400 14 times a year, put that into your IRA tax-free, 208 Augusta rule. And the strategist figures out how to make it work. Then you need a good attorney who is a tax attorney who goes, it's legal, do it, or you don't want to do that. Once you find these 2 and they say it's legal, you compel them or replace them. Done. And then you let them know, Every 3 years, I'm going to have some other company go through, use your tax returns you filed to me to see if there's any more meat on the bone. If they pull more than 5% or 10% off, I'm leaving. And that keeps your accountants really on top of their game and not letting things slip. I mean, I've had accountants slip and it's cost me thousands and thousands. So that's my best advice. And really, in order to get there, learn how to talk the tick. Know how to talk about above, down, inside out, about how we are built to be healthy, how your brain runs your body, how your nervous system transmits that information, how subluxation, stiffness, whatever you want to call it, immobilization affects nervous system function and decreases life's energy to the body. And I don't want to live less than, I did that for 15 years and then learn how to get people to understand that to the point that from the time of birth to the time of death, if you want the best life, you live under the law, and that's the sun, live in the light. And that is, you got to keep the connection. I get adjusted once a week. Why don't you? It's good for you. It feels good. It's healthy. Knock on wood and knock on the fact that Dr. Mullen adjusts me. Thank you. Right. I haven't missed a day of work in 15 years. Why? I still touch the same doorknobs. I still, eat and touch the same railings and get it there, but it doesn't knock me down. It's because my body works. How do you teach people? No, it's not the virus. It's not a bad virus, because in your office, right, that you guys work in, something comes around, people get sick, but there's that one person who's always dying. You get a little, and they're over here with malaria on their deathbed, right? Because you're healthy and they're not. It's not the strength of a virus or bacteria. It is the strength of the host that it's trying to invade. And if it's weak, it's going to take over. So keep yourself strong. That's 3 legs. Know how to teach people. It's not just chiropractic. It's a 3-legged stool. What you do, you need labor, you need activity, you need to keep the guns going. You need to move. You need the second leg, food, good food that goes in, not fake food or crap food, right? Oh, my kid, just won't eat anything good. It's because you buy crappy food and you put it in your cupboards. Don't do it. They will get hungry enough. And as a parent, love is not complacency or like, making them feel good. It's doing the right thing, right? And you can do it with love. Jimmy, I love you, but no, you can't have another sucker. You can't have a Twinkie for breakfast. No, you can't have oatmeal either unless you're going to go and run a 5K or ride your bike. And then the third one, you can have the best materials on the job site. You can have all the best bricks and mortar. You can even have the best craftsmen and laborers. You're working out and eating. But without the message of life, the blueprints, okay, we don't know what you're going to build or how you're going to build it. Somebody can come and give me $1 million, say, Dr. J, build me a house. I don't know what kind of house. What is it? A dog house, an outhouse, a house where unwed mothers, the poorhouse? Man, I can build it, but without a diagram, you might flip the switch for the light and the toilet flushes. That communication puts those 2 other things to work in an efficient manner. And you'll never have the best function unless you do all 3 in a good amount. And I'm not saying be a health jihadi. I'm just saying, teach people how. Give them the chance to understand human nature. Like me, I love chocolate, right? But I still drink my vegetables because I hate vegetables, right? I don't want to eat them. I don't want broccoli. So I blend it up. I hide it in some fruit. You guys can do it too. These messages and coaching people and loving your patients, which isn't always nice. Like, I'm worried whether they'll like me or not. Give that up, man. Give that up. Have them respect you. Have them love you for getting you there, right? And they will overlook your human nature of being a little rough around the edges. Because many of them, especially the younger generation, once they understand, hey, I'm confronting you because I love you. This isn't to make you uncomfortable or point you out. Make sure you go and decide it's because I love you and I don't want to see you fall apart because I've been doing this for 30 years. And the fact of the matter is I've read the research and I know you haven't. And I know I haven't read it all yet, which means I don't know it all, which means you don't know it all. So please just trust me and let me love you and follow my recommendations, okay? Having the ability to be a human, not a scripted person, and love people is really what matters out there, So that's my message of life for everybody starting off. And don't worry, man. Fail quickly, fail often, fail over and over again. It's like my mentor said, he's like, good thing that you're tough because you sure aren't very bright. He's like, you'll figure it out. he had a way of giving nice compliments that really weren't compliments, I guess, So, and the thing is I heard something that helped me over the failures, the times of struggle. As they put a dam up, right? The water rises and it might go up a creek, right? And it gets up there and finds out, wow, that goes up a mountain. I can't get out there. The water doesn't complain. The water doesn't get depressed. The water doesn't get anything. There's no emotion attached to it. It just keeps rising until it finds the path over the dam in the spillway. Be like the water. Don't be attached to the outcome. Love the process. Like, I can't wait to fail on the next time, because that means I'm one step closer to figuring out where to go. And, if you guys need help, find somebody who's failed a lot and then ask for like guidance. It's like with Nicole, you guys, there's people out there and we've already been through it. And as much as we love watching you guys suffer and go through the same things we did, it's like, oh my God, is he going to do it? Oh, we don't want you to pay the big dollar price for it, which most people never do the math, right? Most people never sit down and do the math. Like one mistake in that practice, somebody walks out. What do you guys think? Like, Nicole, you probably know closer, but Colton, what do you think? Like, how much does that mistake cost? When you didn't help them over the hurdle, I don't have time, or I don't have money, or my insurance doesn't pay for it. What is the real dollar value cost to the practice? Not, it's their life. That's the big cost, but what does it cost to practice?
Well, I think it's more than just what that care plan is. It's the potential of lifelong care and all the potential referrals that they could have sent in with the results that they got. So
Exactly.
Yeah, it's huge.
So here you go. We average it out. One mistake in a walk happens because we couldn't help that person over their own internal, blockage or whatever, or, mental construct inability, like, oh, it's this or that. No, it's not this or that. It's not a this or that world. You could do both. We just have to find a way. It's $180,000 in 1 year. $180,000. That's what it stops a new practice from growing, because that person was going to bring in 3 on average in the next 3 months, and those 3 had 3, and they had 3, and they had 3. It is a practice killer. And what it does to your psychological, what we call, not energy, but your tone, your mental tone. And look up Hawking's tone, like levels of tone, like, okay, where am I functioning? Am I in frustration? Don't walk in that room with them. And it effectively stops things. Now I've got to get on and I've got to volunteer. So I love you guys, man. Thanks for letting me come on and talk about things. I'll provide you with a link and stuff. You guys can go to chr501.org and you can get a hold of us through there if you want to find more. Our phone number is 563-447-0772. If you have questions, and that's how you get me right here. And you can email me at jj@chr501.org. And I'd love to help you guys understand things. Again, it's not for everybody. If it's not, we're going to find something that does work or is a better idea for you. So yeah, that's that.
Awesome. Jay, thank you so much for doing this. I mean,
Hey, no problem. It's my pleasure.
This podcast it's worth podcast is worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
so thank you so much.
If you want the $1 million podcast, man, that's where I'll bust out the diagrams and I'll give that to you guys. And that's how do you structure your entities to reduce your tax liability so you keep what you earned on the plate. And doing that, for every dollar that you run through that system, it's like making 6 because of the doubling that occurs for you over time. So you can retire early. I'm 50 years old. I could retire at any minute right now. And that all happened within the last 3 years of doing this system. Literally, I don't have to go to work. I go out here, I adjust 8 hours. I see 220 people, all maintenance, no issues. You got an issue, you got to go see him, solve that issue, and then come back when it's maintenance. Because why? Because I don't need the money. I want the love. I want the life. I want the healing. I want the best lives for everybody. So you can get there. It doesn't happen all at once, but you can do it if you want. All right, I got to run. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, you heard the word. Man, Colton, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah, that was great. So much value there. So it sounds like we're going to have a part 2 with him on again.
I know we might have to, because, we were talking a little bit before we opened this podcast, and he has like all these tax strategies for us chiropractors that can literally help save us hundreds of thousands of dollars. I know some of it I already do, but I'm sure, even after being in practice 23 years, I know I can like even learn something from him as well as far as tax is concerned,
True. Yeah, I feel really green right
right?
now. It's like there's so much to learn, but it's cool to know that there's people out there that are doing it and have done it,
Mhm.
and that I don't have to do it alone. So it gives me hope.
That's awesome. All right, everybody. Well, we're gonna close up shop for today, and hopefully this podcast blessed you, man. Blessed me for sure.